A massive object breached Earth's atmosphere without warning. It hovered silently over the Atlantic Ocean, casting a shadow that stretched across continents. No one knew what was at first. Some thought it was a new satellite gone off course. Others believed it to be a hoax. But when it spoke in perfect unison with every language on Earth, doubt vanished. The voice was calm, smooth, and unmistakably not human. Attention, primitive species. We come in observation. The world watched in stunned silence as footage of the alien vessel filled every screen. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. Sleek, seamless, and humming with energy that defied known physics. Governments scrambled. Scientists debated. Citizens prayed. And then came the descent. They arrived not in fire or fury, but in elegance. A dozen smaller crafts detached from the main ship and scattered across the globe, landing near major cities. Their arrival was met with awe and fear. The beings inside stepped out, tall, slender figures with eyes like polished glass, their movements precise, deliberate. They didn't walk so much as glide, each step synchronized with an almost unsettling grace. The first contact was made in Geneva. Representatives from every major nation stood before them, flanked by scientists, linguists, and military observers. The aliens observed them with mild amusement, exchanging glances that suggested they already knew the outcome of this meeting before it began. One of them stepped forward. "You are primitive," it said, its voice devoid of malice, yet dripping with condescension. "We have evaluated your species. You possess potential, but your technology is crude, your infrastructure inefficient, your understanding of science limited." There was a pause. The room remained silent. "You believe you are advanced," another continued, "but compared to us, you are still in your infancy." The humans tried to respond. Diplomats attempted pleasantries. Scientists offered demonstrations of Earth achievements, quantum computing, space exploration, artificial intelligence. But the aliens barely reacted. One of them waved a hand dismissively, and suddenly the lights dimmed. In midair, a holographic projection appeared, a three-dimensional model of Earth, detailed down to the last mountain range and ocean trench. Then, with a flick of the same hand, the model zoomed outward, revealing stars, planets, entire galaxies beyond human comprehension. "This is our knowledge," the alien said. "This is our reach. Yours remains confined to this small rock." A hush fell over the room. Some diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. Others stared at the display, mesmerized. The message was clear: we are superior. You are not. Then came the tests. The aliens requested samples of Earth's most advanced materials, asked for demonstrations of our fastest vehicles, our strongest weapons. Each time, they responded with polite indifference. When shown a prototype fusion reactor, one of them tilted its head and said, "Interesting. We abandoned this design centuries ago." When presented with AI capable of learning and adapting, another simply replied, "It lacks sentience. Ours think independently." Each rejection chipped away at the confidence of the human delegation. What had begun as cautious optimism turned into quiet humiliation. The world watched, waiting for a sign that humanity could stand tall among the stars. But instead, they were being measured, judged, and found wanting. Yet, amidst the growing sense of inferiority, one man noticed something strange. He was a researcher, not part of the official delegation, but present as an observer. His name was Dr. Elias Ward, a physicist who specialized in theoretical energy systems. He had been watching the aliens closely, analyzing their behavior more than their words. And he saw an inconsistency. One of the aliens had touched a device during the demonstration. Not just any device, a quantum processor designed to simulate complex gravitational fields. As the alien interacted with it, there was a brief flicker on the screen, a symbol flashing for less than a second. Elias leaned forward, heart pounding. He had seen that symbol before, not in any modern database, not in any scientific journal. He had seen it in an old manuscript, buried deep within the archives of the Vatican Library. It was medieval, human, ancient. He blinked, unsure if he had imagined it. But the moment passed quickly, and the aliens moved on, continuing their assessment with cold efficiency. No one else seemed to notice. No one else questioned it. But Elias did, and he would. The meeting concluded with a final statement from the lead alien. "We will return. Perhaps in time, you will prove yourselves worthy." With that, they left as gracefully as they had arrived. The ships ascended, vanishing into the clouds. The world exhaled, but the damage was done. Humanity, once proud of its progress, now felt small. The age of self-doubt had begun. What no one realized was that the truth was far more complicated and far more surprising. And it started with a single question. Where had the alien learned to read medieval symbols? The world didn't just watch. It absorbed. Every word, every image, every motion from the aliens was dissected by scientists, governments, and civilians alike. Footage of their technology flooded the internet. Their gestures, their devices, their very presence became objects of obsession. The more people saw, the more they realized how far behind humanity truly was. Within days, research institutions were flooded with requests to analyze the footage frame by frame. Engineers reverse-engineered what little data they could extract from the aliens' demonstrations. Some claimed it was impossible. What the aliens had shown defied known physics. Others whispered theories that bordered on the fantastical. Zero-point energy, artificial gravity fields, quantum entanglement at will. It wasn't just advanced science. It was something beyond human comprehension. Yet, despite the awe, there was a growing sense of despair. The alien delegation had made one thing clear. Humanity was not ready. Not for the stars, not for integration, not even for serious consideration. They had been observed like an animal in a zoo, evaluated like a student barely passing an exam. And the world felt it. Media outlets framed the encounter as both historic and humiliating. Headlines screamed variations of humanity found lacking, while conspiracy forums buzzed with speculation. Had the aliens come not to observe, but to judge? Was this the beginning of subjugation or salvation? Some feared colonization. Others clung to hope, believing that if humanity worked hard enough, we might one day earn the right to be considered equals. But among the millions watching, only a handful noticed the inconsistencies. Dr. Elias Ward did not sleep that night. He replayed the footage obsessively, pausing whenever the alien had interacted with the quantum processor. The symbol, the medieval human symbol, had appeared for less than a second, but it was real. He had seen it. He knew it. He reached out to a colleague, Dr. Narration, a linguist specializing in ancient scripts. She met him at his lab early the next morning, bleary-eyed but intrigued. "I need you to look at this," Elias said, pulling up the footage. Mira watched in silence as the moment played again. The flicker, the symbol. Her eyes widened. "That's..." She trailed off, then leaned closer. "That's from a Voynich manuscript." Elias nodded. "Not exactly. It's similar, but older. I've seen it in some Vatican archives. 14th century texts. No one knows what it means." Mira frowned. Then why would an alien have it embedded in their tech? They stared at each other, the implications sinking in. It didn't make sense. The aliens had mocked human technology, dismissed our achievements, treated us like children playing with toys. But if they were using symbols from Earth's past, if their technology bore traces of something we had once created, then what did that mean? Had they stolen it? Borrowed it? Misunderstood it? Or worse, was it originally ours? Elias couldn't let it go. He spent the next week combing through historical records, searching for any link between ancient human knowledge and the alien tech. He found fragments, odd references in old alchemical texts, diagrams that resemble schematics of modern spacecraft, descriptions of energy systems that mirrored the ones the aliens had demonstrated. None of it proved anything, but together, it formed a pattern too strange to ignore. Meanwhile, the world moved forward, grappling with its new reality. Governments launched initiatives to accelerate technological development. Billionaires poured money into space exploration, hoping to prove humanity wasn't helpless. Universities revised curriculums to focus on theoretical physics and alien-compatible sciences. And yet, no matter how fast humans tried to move, the gap remained vast. The aliens had set the bar impossibly high. Until one day, a breakthrough happened. Not in a government lab, not in a corporate facility, but in a forgotten archive beneath a crumbling monastery in southern Italy. A team of archaeologists, funded by a private foundation, unearthed a sealed chamber hidden beneath layers of stone and dust. Inside, they found scrolls unlike anything recorded before, blueprints drawn in meticulous detail, depicting machines that looked eerily familiar. One showed a device nearly identical to the alien quantum processor. Another illustrated a propulsion system matching the ships that had hovered over Earth. The documents were dated 1327. No one could explain how such designs had existed centuries ago, or why they had been buried and forgotten. The discovery was leaked within hours. By the time the scientific community caught wind of it, the world was already ablaze with speculation. Elias saw the images and felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't coincidence. This was history rewriting itself. And if humanity had built this technology once before, then maybe, just maybe, we hadn't been left behind. We had simply forgotten. The realization spread like wildfire. Researchers began digging deeper into ancient texts, uncovering more anomalies. Descriptions of flying machines in Indian epics, energy weapons in Greek myths, celestial maps in Mayan ruins. None of it fit the accepted narrative of human progress. But now, that narrative was crumbling. And so, Elias did what he had to do. He called for another meeting, one where the aliens wouldn't be the ones asking questions. This time, humanity would. The meeting was not easy to arrange. The aliens had made it clear they were the observers, not participants in human affairs. Their brief visit had been a courtesy, an assessment, nothing more. But Elias Ward wasn't asking for another evaluation. He was issuing a challenge. It took weeks of diplomatic maneuvering, political pressure, and scientific outcry before the aliens agreed to return. This time, the venue was different, not Geneva, but a remote research facility in the Australian outback, chosen for its isolation and security. No grand speeches, no media spectacle, just one simple message. We have something you need to see. When the alien delegation arrived, they did so with the same effortless grace as before. Their ship descended without sound, touching down on a reinforced landing pad built specifically for their arrival. They stepped out unchanged, expressionless. Their leader, the one who had first spoken during the initial contact, looked around, then fixed his gaze on Elias. "You summoned us," he said, voice smooth, unreadable. "Why?" Elias didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, holding up a tablet displaying the ancient blueprints recovered from a monastery beneath Italy. The device hummed softly in his hands, its screen filled with centuries-old diagrams that bore an uncanny resemblance to the technology the aliens had demonstrated months earlier. "We found these," Elias said, "from 1327. The aliens' glass-like eyes flickered just slightly. It was barely perceptible, but Elias caught it. A reaction. Not surprise. Something else. Recognition? "I don't understand your meaning," the alien replied, though his tone lacked its usual certainty. Elias turned the tablet toward him. "This machine here? It's identical to the quantum processor you used during our first meeting. And this propulsion system?" He tapped the screen, zooming in on another diagram. "Matches the design of your ships." A silence stretched between them. The other aliens shifted subtly, exchanging glances that might have meant nothing or everything. "This is impossible," one of them muttered, almost under their breath. Elias leaned in. "Is it? Or did you find this knowledge somewhere else? Somewhere familiar?" The leader of the delegation remained still for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached into his robe and pulled out a small, crystalline device. With a flick of his fingers, a holographic projection appeared. A three-dimensional model of the same blueprint Elias had shown. There was no mistaking it now. The alien looked at the image, then back at Elias. "Where did you obtain this?" Elias smiled faintly. "In a place where people thought it was nonsense, where it was buried and forgotten. But we built it, long before you ever saw it." Another alien spoke, his voice colder than the rest. "You claim your species created this?" "No," Elias said. "I claim that someone did. And I think you know exactly who." The tension, in the air thickened. The humans present, scientists, linguists, historians, watched in stunned silence. The weight of history pressed down on them all. Then, unexpectedly, the lead alien exhaled, not like a human would, but something close, an almost imperceptible release of energy or perhaps emotion. He looked at his companions, then back at Elias. "We did not believe it possible," he admitted. "Our ancestors discovered remnants of this technology scattered across distant worlds. We assumed it belonged to a lost civilization, one far older than ours." Elias's heart pounded. "And you never considered it might have come from here?" The alien shook his head slowly. "No, because by the time we found it, your species had already regressed. You had abandoned your own advancements. We believed you were merely the descendants of those who once wielded such power." Elias took a step closer. "And what if we hadn't abandoned it? What if it was taken from us?" The alien hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty crept into his posture. Mira Chun, standing beside Elias, finally spoke. "There are records, ancient texts, descriptions of machines, of energy systems, of flight. They match your tech, but they also speak of destruction, of suppression, of knowledge hidden or erased." She paused and added, "Maybe you weren't the ones who stole it. Maybe someone else did. And maybe we're only now starting to remember." The alien leader looked at her, then at the gathered humans. Something changed in his stance. Not quite defeat, but acknowledgement. "We will study this," he said finally. "We will re-examine our records. If what you say is true..." He trailed off, then finished with words none of them expected. "Then we owe you more than respect." Silence followed, the kind that came after revelations too vast to process immediately. Elias let out a slow breath. The battle wasn't over, but the war for humanity's place in the stars had just taken a turn. For the first time, the aliens weren't looking down on them. They were looking up. The days that followed were unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. The aliens remained on Earth, not as observers, but as students. Their initial arrogance had melted into something resembling reverence, measured, cautious, but unmistakable. They pored over the ancient blueprints, cross-referencing them with their own records, running simulations, analyzing linguistic patterns embedded in forgotten texts. And every test confirmed the same truth. The technology they had long believed to be theirs had originated here. It was a revelation that sent shockwaves through both species. For the aliens, it was a humbling realization. An entire civilization built upon knowledge they had assumed belonged to an extinct race. For humanity, it was a reawakening, a rediscovery of lost brilliance buried beneath centuries of ignorance and suppression. Elias War became the de facto liaison between humans and the alien delegation. He led research teams deep into archives previously dismissed as mythological nonsense. Ancient libraries once thought to contain only religious texts now revealed schematics for machines centuries ahead of their time. Forgotten ruins held inscriptions detailing energy systems more advanced than anything modern science had achieved. One by one, the pieces fell into place. In Egypt, archaeologists uncovered underground chambers containing metallic fragments that defied known metallurgy. In India, researchers found temple carvings depicting vehicles eerily similar to the alien ships. In China, scrolls describe gravitational manipulation techniques indistinguishable from those demonstrated by the visitors. The world began to shift, not just in knowledge, but in mindset. For too long, humanity had measured its progress against the stars, believing itself primitive, inferior, late to the cosmic stage. But now, the truth was undeniable. We had been here before. We had reached heights beyond imagination, and then, somehow, we had lost it. But why? That question became the next great pursuit. Historians, physicists, even philosophers joined forces to uncover what had happened to humanity's golden age. Some theorized natural disasters, cataclysms that erased entire civilizations. Others suspected deliberate suppression, whether by ruling powers who fear the consequences of such knowledge, or by external forces seeking to keep Earth in check. The aliens themselves had no definitive answer. Their ancestors had scavenged remnants of human technology scattered across distant planets, piecing together what they could, but they had never questioned the origin. Now they did, and so did humanity. Governments, once hesitant to embrace the implications, shifted course. Research initiatives exploded across the globe. Universities revised curriculums overnight. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to reconstruct what had been lost, not just to reclaim the past, but to surpass it. Humanity wasn't content with merely proving that we had once been advanced. We wanted to be again. The aliens, for their part, offered assistance, not as teachers, but as collaborators. They shared what they had learned from reverse engineering our ancient tech, helping us bridge the gap between past and present. And in return, we gave them something they had never expected: perspective. They had come to Earth thinking they were the pinnacle of evolution, the inheritors of superior knowledge. Instead, they found themselves standing before the original architects, the civilization that had unknowingly shaped their own history. And slowly, respect turned into admiration. At a global summit held in Geneva, this time not as a diplomatic formality, but as a historic turning point, humanity made a declaration. We are not your inferiors. We are your predecessors, and we are ready to lead again. The aliens bowed, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. They pledged to share all recovered data, to help us rebuild what had been lost. And more importantly, they agreed to introduce us to the wider galactic community, not as novices, but as equals, perhaps even mentors. As the summit concluded, Elias stood at the edge of the conference hall, watching the aliens depart. One of them paused before leaving, turning to him. "You have reclaimed your legacy," he said. "What will you do with it?" Elias smiled. "Finish what we started." The alien nodded once, then vanished into the night. Outside, the sky was filled with stars, just as it always had been. But for the first time in centuries, humanity didn't look up in wonder. We looked up with purpose, because we weren't reaching for the stars anymore. We were going home,